Okay, everybody, let's look at this graph. Now, once again, we don't want to do a table of values. It'll take us forever to graph this. Our goal is to graph this. But how do we graph this if we don't want to do table of values? Well, part of it is completing the square. So let's start with this. We know this is not a perfect square. We know it. Why? How do we know that it's not a perfect square? Because 7 is not a perfect square. Therefore, it's not a perfect square. There's nothing we can do to make this, to say that this is a perfect square. But what we can do is we can add 0. Remember that technique? We add 0 plus 2x. Let's leave this plus 7 out here. We're going to add 0 here in the form of plus something minus something. We've done this before. Now, the question is, what do we have to add? What do we have to add over here to make this a perfect square? What do we have to add to it? And the answer is, well, we take this 2 value right here, 2 divided by 2 squared. That's what we have to add. So 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1 squared, which is equal to 1. So if we add 1 here, remember, but first we have to add 0, right? Add 1 minus 1. What do we end up getting? We end up getting this becomes a perfect square. How do I know it's a perfect square? Well, because I made it 1. That's why I basically added this 1 to make the rest of it a perfect square. So this becomes y x plus 1 squared. And if you wanted to expand it, you'll see that you get this answer. And then what do we do? Minus 1 plus 7. What does that equal to? Y equals x plus 1 squared plus 6. That's something we can graph. Move it over 1, negative direction, up 6, and we have something graphable. 3, 5, and this goes up to 7. It's a little bit off. That's fine. Let's just draw arrows to make it indicate it goes on forever. Easy. What about this dude? Or formula. What about this equation? Well, I know that this is not a perfect square. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to make this a perfect square somehow. Y equals x squared minus 18x. And we'll add that 79 later. We'll do something with it later. But what are we going to add here? Well, we can't, because we can't change anything. What we need to do is add and subtract. Basically, add and subtract the same number makes it adding 0. We talked about this earlier, but I'll keep mentioning it. We're going to add and subtract the same number just to make this a perfect square. Let's go over that again. X squared minus 18x. What number needs to be added here to make it a perfect square? You take this 18, you divide it by 2, and you square it. That becomes 9 squared, which is also equal to 81. So we have to add 81, then subtract 81. Now, this becomes a 0 value. So we added 0 basically. We didn't change our equation. We just added 0. Plus 79. That comes from up there. All right, so what do we do next? Well, the answer is we added 81 so we could turn that into a perfect square. Y equals x squared. Sorry. That's a perfect square, right? How do we know? Well, the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 81 is 9. 2 times x is 9. Sorry, 2 times 9 times x is 18. That's how we know it's a square. Then we have minus 81 plus 79. Let's rewrite it. Y equals x minus 9 squared And then minus 81 and plus 79, they equal to minus 2. Now I have something I can graph. I have, basically it moves in the positive direction by 9, and it moves down 2. Alright, so, and it opens upwards. So that's kind of tricky now. We have to move all of this information right here. We kind of got to move it to the side right there. Let's just move it there. Okay, so let's graph it. It moves 9 in this direction, and it goes down 2. Let's erase that original one. Down 2, 9 in the positive direction. All right, and it's our regular curve. 1, 3, 5, 7. 1, 3, 5, 7, etc., etc. And so we've drawn it. We've gone ahead and drawn the quadratic equation x squared minus 18x plus 79. So we're almost at the finish mark. There's only one extra thing. We haven't dealt with stretching or compression. We'll talk about that in the next video.